Inequality. Some talk about it, some ignore it, some profit from it. Most are trapped by it. You may think wealth gaps are just about hard work and personal choices, or simple economics that will eventually balance out. But the real forces keeping the poor poor and making the rich richer operate far from individual decisions, deep within the systems that govern our world, through political power, educational gatekeeping, and structural barriers most never see coming. The true nature of economic inequality is the dance between individual effort and systemic design. Let's delve into the harsh and systematic reality of why economic mobility feels impossible for most. The money politics machine. We all live under different governments, with leaders making different decisions and holding different values, operating in various political systems with varying incentives and varying opportunities for influence. But there's one universal truth that spans across 36 countries and over 80% of their populations. Money controls politics, and politics controls everything else. Take the average voter versus the average billionaire. The voter casts one ballot every few years, hoping their voice matters in a sea of millions. The billionaire, they don't just vote. They fund campaigns, hire armies of lobbyists, and literally write the legislation that gets passed. When a minimum wage worker and a hedge fund manager both have equal political representation, who do you think gets heard? People justify this system based on the information they have at that moment and their understanding of democracy, which has been shaped by their unique experiences with fairness and justice. Although they can see the inequality, feel the frustration, or recognize the unfairness, the system continues to make sense to those who benefit from it. According to research across dozens of nations, people recognize the game is rigged, but no one knows how to change the rules. We all have different perspectives on fairness, and since there is no universally agreed way to distribute wealth successfully, we're stuck in this endless cycle. We accept economic inequality because the system convinces us it's natural and inevitable. The education trap. There is no doubt that education is considered the great equalizer in society. What is staggering is that the education system itself has become one of the greatest drivers of inequality. The gap between quality education and mediocre schooling has never been wider, and it starts before children can even walk. Consider this reality. A child born into a wealthy family doesn't just get better schools. They get private tutors, test prep courses, college counselors, internship connections, and family networks that open doors. A child born into poverty gets overcrowded classrooms, underfunded programs, stressed teachers, and the constant distraction of financial instability at home. Let's say two equally intelligent children start kindergarten. One has access to advanced technology, individual attention, and enrichment programs. The other struggles with basic supplies and class sizes of 30 students per teacher. After 12 years of this disparity, guess who gets into the elite universities that lead to high-paying careers? The counterintuitive nature of educational inequality makes many of us not realize how extreme the results can be. Education, however, can trap you in your economic class rather than free you from it. A wealthy child who gets mediocre grades still has connections and opportunities. A poor child who excels academically often hits walls that money could easily break down. Consider this from another perspective. The most successful entrepreneurs often come from wealthy families. However, in terms of raw intelligence and creativity, they are not necessarily the greatest. There are brilliant minds in every economic class, but only those with financial backing can afford to take risks, fail, and try again. How is this possible? The reason is that success requires not just talent, but the safety net that wealth provides. A poor person with a great business idea can't afford to fail. They need immediate income to survive. The monopoly game of real life. Money attracts more money for reasons that go far beyond individual choices. When you have wealth, the entire economic system works differently for you. You get better interest rates, exclusive investment opportunities, tax advantages, and the ability to buy assets that appreciate over time. Looking at wealth concentration, the numbers tell a stark story. The top 1% now holds more wealth than the bottom 50% combined. So, what is it about wealth accumulation that seems to accelerate rather than level out? The answer is because wealth builds on itself and creates exponential advantages over time. Money is a subject that creates monopolies for a variety of reasons. Let's start with the fact that wealth gives you political influence. When you can shape the rules of the game, you naturally shape them in your favor. For example, tax policies that favor capital gains over wages immediately benefit those who own assets rather than those who sell their labor. However, the incremental nature of these advantages can go largely unnoticed by those not directly affected. Every year, millions of middle-class families see their purchasing power erode while billionaire wealth grows exponentially. Slow structural changes attract less attention than sudden individual failures. There are many overnight success stories in the media, but few discussions of systematic wealth extraction. This brings us to a book that explains these patterns better than anything else I've read, Why Nations Fail by Darren Acemoglu and James Robinson. I cannot recommend this book highly enough. It's available on Amazon, link in the description, and it's absolutely essential reading for understanding how economic systems really work. The authors demonstrate how institutions either create opportunities for everyone or concentrate power in the hands of a few. To be practical, we don't have to accept this as inevitable. Despite the structural advantages, we can understand how the system works and make better decisions within it. When you see news about economic policies or wealth statistics, try to remember that these aren't natural phenomena. They're the result of specific choices and systems that can be changed. The wage trap and cost explosion. In 2025, there were roughly 8 billion people in the world, and of those 8 billion, a growing number face the same impossible equation. Wages that barely keep up with inflation while essential costs skyrocket beyond reach. Housing, healthcare, education, the very things needed to build wealth, have become luxury items for many families. This creates what economists call the wealth-building paradox. To build wealth, you need surplus income to invest. But for most people, every dollar earned goes immediately to survival expenses. Meanwhile, those who already have wealth see their assets appreciate faster than wages grow, creating an ever-widening gap. Take housing as an example. In many cities, a typical worker now spends 50 to 60% of their income on rent alone. That same worker's grandparents might have spent 25% of their income on housing and been able to buy a home by age 30. What changed? Housing became an investment vehicle for the wealthy, driving prices beyond the reach of regular earners. Even as a young person today, you might work harder and be more educated than previous generations, but face financial obstacles they never encountered. But going into debt for basic needs also puts you at a massive disadvantage compared to those born into wealth. If you start life with student loans, credit card debt, and impossible housing costs, you're not just starting at zero, you're starting in a hole while others start on a mountain. The odds of escaping this trap through individual effort alone are becoming increasingly slim. Just as structural advantages can propel some to great success, structural disadvantages can trap others in cycles of financial struggle, regardless of their personal qualities or efforts. The technology displacement. Luck and risk in today's economy often come disguised as technological progress. Automation and artificial intelligence are eliminating jobs faster than new ones are being created. And the pattern is predictable. Lower-skilled jobs disappear, high-tech positions require expensive education and training. The pursuit of efficiency through technology has led to incredible productivity gains, but those gains flow primarily to capital owners rather than workers. A factory that once employed 1,000 people might now operate with 100, generating the same revenue but requiring far less labor. Who benefits? The shareholders and executives, not the displaced workers. Understanding that technological progress creates both opportunities and casualties can help us approach economic changes with greater awareness. The factory worker replaced by a robot isn't lazy or obsolete. They're experiencing the risk side of innovation, while tech entrepreneurs experience the luck side. People want to become wealthier to gain security and freedom, but the current economic system often demands sacrificing those very things to have any chance at wealth building. Working multiple jobs, going into debt for education, accepting financial stress for years. The path to wealth often requires giving up the control and peace that wealth is supposed to provide. However, studies consistently show that having economic security and control over your basic needs is more important for well-being than luxury consumption. The cruel irony is that the pursuit of wealth through traditional advice often leads to less security, not more. Ultimately, understanding how systems work is more valuable than any individual financial tip. Recognizing that your economic situation isn't just about your choices, but about the structures you're operating within can help you make more strategic decisions and avoid blaming yourself for systemic problems. The inequality cascade. The wealthy don't just have more money. They live in a completely different economic reality. They buy assets that appreciate. The poor buy necessities that depreciate. They get investment returns. The poor pay interest. They influence policy. The poor adapt to policy. They build generational wealth. The poor struggle to survive each generation. Perhaps 99% of individual financial advice focuses on personal behavior and budgeting. But that doesn't particularly matter if the other 1%, the systemic factors, are working against you. These systemic forces are known as structural barriers, where a small number of policies and institutions can account for the majority of economic outcomes. When it comes to wealth building, even though structural factors are prevalent, most of us ignore them. When things go wrong financially, we tend to blame ourselves. As soon as you accept that systems drive most economic outcomes, you realize that individual failures often reflect structural problems, not personal shortcomings. Remember, out of all the factors that determine financial success, only a small percentage are under individual control. Good financial decisions will help, but they can't overcome bad systems. The fact that you might struggle financially doesn't mean you're doing everything wrong. It might mean the game itself needs to change. True wealth versus survival. It's crucial to understand the difference between building wealth and simply surviving economically. Wealth building is about having surplus resources to invest and grow, while economic survival is about meeting basic needs without falling behind. True wealth isn't just having money. It's having the freedom that financial security provides. It's easy to assume that someone with a steady job and decent income is building wealth, but appearances can be deceiving. In reality, many individuals are treading water financially, working hard just to maintain their current position while costs rise around them. Wealth isn't about the lifestyle you can afford today, it's about the financial foundation you're building for tomorrow. Building real wealth requires not just earning money, but operating within systems that allow that money to grow rather than just maintain your current situation. The real price of change. Imagine you are trying to change an entire economic system with the goal of creating genuine opportunity for everyone. Maybe you will face political opposition, maybe corporate resistance. You may encounter setbacks, you might fail multiple times. The difficulty of systematic change is not always apparent until you're fighting for it. From the outside, the path to economic justice may seem obvious, but along the way, you will certainly need to reassess and change your approach. You are under no illusion that there will be some simple solution that will magically fix inequality. You understand that this uncertainty and struggle is just the price you have to pay to create real change. But when it comes to personal financial success, many people think they can avoid the systematic barriers and achieve wealth through individual effort alone. This is like trying to win a game where the rules constantly change in favor of your opponents. If you want economic security, you have several options. You can try to work within the current system, accepting its limitations. You can try to change the system itself, or you can pretend the system doesn't exist and blame individuals for systemic problems. Working within the system is realistic but limited. Changing the system is ambitious but necessary. Pretending it doesn't exist is like trying to get something for nothing, ignoring the structural realities that shape economic outcomes. The price you must pay for real financial progress isn't just about personal discipline or smart budgeting. It's about recognizing and working with the systematic forces that determine economic outcomes. This price is not immediately obvious, but you have to acknowledge it, just like you would acknowledge any other powerful force in your life. Know when the system is broken. Become familiar with the concept of systemic failure. Every time the wealth gap widens, we keep moving the goalposts of what's considered acceptable inequality. You need only look at the rise of billionaires during global crises, people making unprecedented wealth while others lose everything. But all the individual financial advice in the world couldn't address this level of systematic wealth extraction. The pursuit of individual wealth without understanding systematic inequality is like trying to swim upstream in a river that's flowing faster every year. No matter how hard you swim individually, the current determines your ultimate direction. And here's something I want to share with you. I've put together a comprehensive free ebook on personal finance that breaks down these concepts even further and gives you practical strategies for navigating our current economic reality. You can download it from the description box below. It's completely free and covers everything from understanding systematic barriers to building wealth despite them. The truth is, individual financial success and systematic economic justice aren't opposing goals. They're complementary ones. Understanding how the system works makes you better at operating within it, and building personal financial knowledge makes you better equipped to recognize when change is needed. And watch this video to learn why so many people fail at building wealth, because understanding these systematic forces is the first step toward both personal financial success and creating an economy that works for everyone. Guys, if you liked the video, please like, comment, and subscribe. See you soon in the next video.